Alrighty then, away we go. It is Friday, December 11th of 2020, and this is the TRC sales training call, which, as you know, I'm always excited to do. So I have muted everybody on the way in here because it's usually a big call and people come in hot. So we will get started with, I just had a nice little visit with Maggie, who is new to Lena Chu's team. And we were talking a little bit about the beats, and I think this came up last week too with Joanna, who works with Anita, is that a lot of you are getting very caught up in trying to be conversational, which you are naturally, or trying to be scripted. I want a conversation that gets the job done. Okay. Over time, what will happen is you'll actually become more scripted over time because you'll realize that your efficiency comes from doing so. So as you look at that setup, I want you to understand that you got to do you. If you're sitting there and you're stuttering and you're running out of words to say, it's because you're making it all about you. You have to go back to being a good conversationalist, right? That's what you need to be. So have a conversation. All you outside sales agents, as we talk about that today, you're a problem solver, just like the inside sales, but now your problem solving comes from a variety of different challenges, and they're always coming at you in the thick of a deal. For example, right now I have a big deal. Agents calling me and saying, where do we stand on the home inspection issues? I got to go to my closing coordinator. I got to deal with that. So you become an orchestra leader when you're outside sales, right? So inside sales, you're a conversationalist that's building the very early stages of a relationship. And in the outside sales, you're an orchestra leader trying to keep everybody in fine tune from the very fine place it started, okay? So as we go through that continuum of training, understand everything is connected. So all of my team leaders that have all of these telemarketers, I implore them, don't you dare leave these people alone without really being symbiotically connected to what they're selling. Right? Because they're starting a relationship by offering information that's different from what everybody else does, and that's truly helpful. It's a wonderful way to start. It works. And that works with any scenario. I don't care whether you just meet a buyer or a seller on the street or whatever it is. We're starting in my world to start to use my own website to have people manually entered even into a lead capture, so it generates a request from the company to send out a mailed package, right? So you really want to see everything as a continuum. There's no disjointedness. The only existence and reason for telemarketing is that it sets up an outside sales opportunity. And outside sales can't thrive without new opportunities. So everything's very symbiotic here, okay? All right. So I'm going to open or ask you, any of you that, I'm sorry, I've lost my voice here, so I'm going to have one of these Hall's mentholyptus while I do the call here today. But if you could come to me a little bit with what's on your mind, that would be a helpful start. If I have anybody on the outside, I'd actually prefer to start with outside sales today. So I'll call if I don't hear anything from one of my team leaders, Desi, Dean. I don't know who else is in here for team leaders. I've got a couple of blank numbers, but also, and Russ and Maxie, I see you there today as well. Love to talk about some buy side stuff as well if we could. All right, go ahead. Who wants at it first today? And again, remember, you're muted. You have to unmute your own mic. Wow, you all came off the bench.
Nothing new here yet. I got Fran officially starting next week, so we'll hopefully have some very early stage calls for you to review towards the end of next week.
Yeah, good.
And I don't think Fran's in a position where she's able to speak. So I will sit back and not make any sarcastic remarks until they're appropriate and let you do your thing.
I was just going to say until they had to be a qualifier, until they're appropriate, of course. I mean, that was the qualifier. I love it. That was good. Okay, good. So that's fine. Fran, welcome. You don't need to talk to us today. I know you're in a spot where you can't, if that's what Dean says. Welcome. I am actually going to go grab this call that I just did with Maggie, because Maggie's on. Maggie, you can open up your mic while I do this.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay, stay right there, Maggie. Go ahead.
Dean. All right. Do you have any follow-up call recordings? I haven't heard any of them in a long time.
Nope, but I would love to get some.
Okay.
Let's go. right, let me go to this. So Maggie and I just broke this down. I want to show you what it sounds like when rookie, at this, not a rookie at telemarketing, but when a rookie does a good job. But you can see that in her evolution, she gets the first beat down just nice and smoothly, and then she sort of dead ends herself. And at first I thought it was, she's saying something that dead ending her, but she dead ends herself, and you'll hear that. And so the teachable moment is, okay, great. Which is, why are they trying to sell it? And then listen, because you're qualifying for whether or not an appointment is imminent, right? Okay, so let's go there.
Hi, Basil. No, Cecil is not home. Who is this? Oh, yes. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm with Prodigy Group Real Estate. Is this Medea? Yes. Oh, yes. Hi. Once again, my name is Maggie with Prodigy Group Real Estate. I'm calling you because I saw your beautiful home online, and I noticed that it didn't sell. So I'd like to send you something that will help you sell it next time. May I do that? Like send me something in email or? Through mail. It's like basically what I'm going to go ahead and send you. A list of properties with pictures and details that sold in your price range while you were on the market, and also including a copy of our 7-step listing plan. That's for your own, for you to keep, and it'll just basically guide you on how to, get prepared to sell the next time whenever you decide to go ahead and sell again. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so I have your mailing address here, 2 Bayfield in Irvine, California, 92614. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, I will definitely go ahead and send that out to you, and I will be calling you next week to make sure that you receive that information, okay? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Medea. You stay safe, okay?
Okay, see, it's really good. And again, the only thing I could do with something like that is just tighten her up as she starts to go off a little bit, a little extra. You don't need extra, you need efficiency. And it's tough because you're so excited somebody's answered the phone. You're so excited there's a two-way conversation going on, but lots of things right here in her call. Just strong voice, loud. She's not whispery. It's loud, but without being obnoxious is what I mean. I feel strength. I feel authority. And we talk about this in this call a lot, is that whether you're going into a home or whether you're calling somebody on the phone, you have to stop and remember, you're the authority. This is your show. You're not going in there. You try to hope somebody wins. Okay. I think that's a big mistake with a lot of estate agents, especially. When they're going to go into this cattle call and there's 4 or 5 agents, and I hope I win. I don't even think like that. Even if I'm going into a cattle call, I'm going to walk in and say, I am the authority. This is the 7-step process that anybody must go through. That's what to do. Here's how I do it without getting into all the micro details. And I want to know if you understand that and everything's been covered. And if not, let's do that. But then I'm going to show you the math of what could be the result here. That's authoritative action. Now, my thought is, because I'm so authoritative in those types of moments, and you are on the phone here getting this information, that information that she's talking about is the very, very starter package somebody like me, a major authority, would talk about in the house. So the importance of what Maggie's talking about here, what's in this package, is everything. And I asked her, and I gave her homework, and I said, have you gotten a package to be sent to your house from Lena yet, and Alex? And have you opened it up? And have you read it? And Maggie, playing along, said, sort of yes. But I know what that means. It means, eh. And the big teachable moment is, I get it. Plead guilty. Because what I want you to do is fall in love with that package. I want you to read it cover to cover, everything in it, all the way through it, highlighter and everything. It's homework. Because when you think about what we're doing here differently, that is what you're selling. It's the rival. And you don't know anything about it. And you haven't studied it. And it's not like it's that long. It's a booklet. It's pictures and details. And it needs to mean something to you. Because when you do that subtly, when you start to go back to this other place where everybody's getting screwed up and fumbling over words, all you have to do is have one of these visual packages in front of you and say, no, dude, I am telling you, you got to have this thing. This is the real deal. Well, what is it? Well, it's about 5 or 6 properties with pictures and details from the multiple listings system, right? That it's sold around you. So it gives you all the detail of what's sold around you, a little bit above your price, a little bit below. Okay. It's information. Next is we're actually going to give you a copy of our home seller plan. It's the very plan we customize for our clients. You can have a free copy of that too. I'm going to stuff that in there. But with or without us, you need to get this stuff. And I got to get it to you. And I'm over exaggerating the point because I want you to understand the enthusiasm that you need to attach to this package of information. Then it also makes the second beat per se and the real effectiveness of this job more obvious, right? When you understand the package and they have said, yes, wonderful, I'm going to call you next week. Make sure you got it. We're going to make sure this gets hooked up. And that's where she ends. Because for 2 reasons. One, she's not attached enough to the understanding of what was in that package and what it means, not necessarily even to the seller, but to an expert like me, like Lena, who would go in and take that information, look at their house, find out a little bit deeper about their situation, and customize the process for them. Look, you failed before. Look, this is the first time you're doing it before. Look, you were referred. I don't care the context. Same one every time, right? Hey, it's Danny Griffin calling. I know my client Deb recommended us to you. Wonderful. I want to ask you just a few qualifying questions first so I know what's going on. Why are you doing this? So I might just pick up right there at that second beat. Great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to book this appointment to come out and see you. But since I can't see you for a couple months, I'm going to drop a package in the mail. It's got 5 or 6 pictures and details of properties that sold. It's got our seller plan that I'll be customizing when I come to the house. Why don't you get that? That'll get you started. And when we meet, we have a more productive meeting. So every single time I and anybody that works with me in my company and any of you that are here on my watch are going to be clubbed over the head to say, stay with the value proposition. The value proposition is we have curated and organized information in order for them so that they can begin to go through this process with or without us in a better way. That's an improvement on the landscape, right? Follow me? I mean, that's your positive impact on the world as an agent. And what will happen is it will all come back in. Maggie, comments about that now that I had a little chance to go a little deeper with you? Maggie.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Now that I've gone through it deeper with you, any comments?
No, I just like all the feedback like that. I know next time, and I will study the intro and basically the whole book.
Yeah.
And now I have a better understanding, which I needed.
Yep.
I needed your feedback and everyone else's.
Yep.
Obviously, I've done telemarketing for many years. But obviously, I still do need help from an expert, right?
Yeah. Well, you need what you need help with is this system. Let me make that very clear.
Correct.
I'm glad you said what you just said. This is a system, and you have talent, and together the two collide. And the training is to repeat the system. Take your talent and lock it in to the system. Don't cheat the system, because when you cheat the system, you cheat the whole process. That's what the training is. The coaching is when you get a call like that and we listen to it. Here's your coaching. Relax, breathe, but go home and do the homework because you don't know the value of the package. Because when you do, then you'll say, and that's the plan that Lena customizes. By the way, why are you thinking about doing it? I got to get out of here. COVID scared me. I'm gone. I want out of here in the next 60 days. Geez, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated? I'm a 10. Well, what I should do then is I should just take this package, give it to Lena, and have Lena bring it to you, because you're going to get her insight on how to get it done quickly without making a mistake. So why don't I it's very logical. Everything becomes very logical, right? Okay.
Yes.
I like the distinction you made, and I don't know if it was the exact words or not, but there was something along the lines of, at least the way I was hearing it is, when the telemarketer is speaking to the homeowner, it's not, hey, I want you to have this. It's, this is what you need to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. And
it's subtle, but there's a big mind shift difference when you own one versus the other, in my opinion.
yeah, well, you know, it's tricky, Dean, too, because we know we have to give human beings what they want first, right? And in this case, it's kind of weird. They didn't ask for the thing they want, right? But what they want when it comes to the context of real estate is property information. Anybody thinking about selling wants property information. Anybody thinking about buying wants property information.
It's like we've talked about saying with the consumer, you know, when we're doing any kind of lead conversion, it's you've got to give them what they want, even though what they think they want isn't what they really need.
Well, Dean,
giving them what
right.
they want, they think that's what they need, but there's another level we've got to get to.
And we've tested it in this system long ago when we first wrote the seller course. It was like we went direct to consumer and said, you know, here, take this, and it fell flat, right? Because you're trying to be an educated, sort of like somebody who just finishes college and they look back and they say, you know, hey, here we are. You know, I didn't know going through that I needed that, but I needed that, right? I needed that kind of an education. I needed that kind of structure, school, you know, through high school. I hated high school. Yeah, but when you look back, there was a lot that went on there that you needed. Nobody would ever say, you need high school, you need college, and take it. You have to kind of sneak up on them. Oh, it'll be great. You know, you meet a lot of new kids. You know how it goes, right? So it's just human nature. So, all right. Go ahead, Gail. Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to say, when, and we don't say it enough, is that when they get to the point where they're going to deliver the package, there has to be that seller questionnaire filled out so that, for me, I'm not going in there blind like, yeah, I know why they're selling, but what about all the rest of those questions that are really important for me as I, you know, travel to their house?
Well, yeah. Well, what you're bringing up is the entirety of the system. So I'll cover it since you're bringing it up. So
Yeah,
because what'll happen is it'll again. I'd like to hear right now who's on the outside sales here. Who's here? And outside sales. I want outside sales. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to keep playing this game. Here's what I want. I want all my team leaders. We're going to hijack this call today for outside sales, okay? But we're going to tie in the telemarketing stuff. We need to talk about this because Gail's bringing up a good point. So all you telemarketers pay very close attention. And Autumn, let's just keep everybody quiet inside the chat, okay? I want everybody's eyes on me and their ears on me. Don't ask Autumn questions in the chat. Let's keep that quiet too. Okay, everybody, eyes and ears up. No multitasking. You're gonna hear a walkthrough of the entire system. And if you're on here with one of us, Gail, myself, Dean, etc., this is our expectation, okay, of what you're doing for us, so that together we make money at the back end. Okay, so here we go. In the very beginning, you have to think about a unique selling proposition. What is in it for any seller? I'm going to stay for sellers for a second. I can say, or buyers in parentheses. What is in it for any seller to consider doing business with any one of us? We have to come up with what's called a unique selling proposition. Now, the word unique has screwed up a lot of salespeople over the years, where we came up with a lot of these gimmicky, strange sayings that we thought that was what it meant. And it's not. It's more so at its fundamental, proper discussion point. It is more so a way that is unique, right? Anybody can serve coffee, but the way that Starbucks does it, the way that Dunkin' Donuts does it, the branding around it, that's unique. Those are unique selling propositions. And if you look at a Starbucks drinker and a Dunkin' drinker, they look very different, but the stuff is the same. It's coffee, right? So now in our business, we have that dilemma. We have a commoditized service in the eyes of the consumer selling coffee. That's all they see. You're just a realtor. That's all they see. So you have to work hard at the very front end of your business to say, why you? So it turns out that to be unique is actually way simpler than we ever thought it was before. It's simply to say, because I have a plan for you to go through one of the single largest financial and emotional transactions you'll ever go through. Well, everybody has a plan. No, they don't, it turns out. Well, what do you mean a plan? I have taken the time to simplify and chunk up the major steps to selling a house, the major steps to buying his house. And I have put it in a magazine copy, and I put it in an infographic, and I can give it to you any way you want. That is the establishment and the core foundational point for a unique selling proposition in this group. And again, could somebody copy it and duplicate it? Yes. But why wouldn't they be able to easily do it? They could easily copy that, try to steal. I'll have my Philadelphia lawyers chase them around. But the point would be, if you just gave it to your best competitor, it'll be lost on them because of the same kind of training we're doing here, which means that when there's something simple, it still needs to be trained upon and ingrained in the brain. The wirings need to fire. You need to now, that has to become your behavior. Because I have a plan, because I have a plan, because I have a plan. If you don't say it a lot, and then you don't even understand the 7 steps yourself, why do you think Maggie's homework is read the thing over and over, and then see me on Campfire next Thursday and the following Thursday? That's the repetition of the unique selling proposition way we do things. So that now we go out and say, telemarketers, we're interested in your talent. Because what we'd like to do is plug it into a very articulate way to express what's unique about us. Not only what's unique, but that we've also productized what's unique about us. Very key point here. We've productized it. In other words, we don't just say it. It's not just a tagline on the sign. We actually have productized it and turned it into this magazine, this infographic. And we know that in this process, we know a lot about what you'll go through, and you're going to go look at properties. Ask Zillow, ask Redfin, ask all these people that hijack property information and were able to buy eyeballs. But they still have a shitty process, if you ask me. Okay? So I'm trying to take the property information part of it, combine it with a unique selling proposition, give it away as often and as possible, as fast as possible as I can, to people that I want to do business with. They own or are going to buy a median or above property in the geographies I want to cover. This is all extremely specific. You should be hearing me be very specific, so that when Maggie arrives for the very first day on the job with Lena, I'm not guessing about what I tell her. There's a whole list of things Maggie's supposed to have done for onboarding, which includes downloading the infographic, downloading the magazine, listening to me go through a 17-minute presentation of each, so that she arrives here knowing the unique selling proposition. She is gifted to her house the very same thing she's gifting to other people, so she gets it. So if the scripting, which is how we do it here at the TRC, has been pounded out after thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work, has been pounded out, okay? If that's still too overwhelming, even in its simplicity, here's what you cheat to. We have something for you, and it matters. And we think it's a pretty unique thing we put together here. That's all you have to say. And I want to get it to you because that's my job. May I do that? That's the essence of what this is. And it doesn't have to be an expired. Like, I've got two people over in the Philippines, and they're disconnected from Seattle physically. So they don't really, they're not there every day. And they have to do the same thing on the buy side. I gave you some property information on this buy side, but I want to give you some other information that would be helpful. I'd like to get you some properties that have sold in that area so you see what the money's buying. And I'd like to get you a copy of our buyer plan. To me, that's their highest and best use on the phone. So it doesn't matter to me what the context is. The human being on the other side whose seriousness of purpose is rising, and you collide with them somewhere on the phone for the first time, you better know why the company, and why the top agent who's going out there. And it's not, you don't want to sell us the way we don't want to sell you. We think Maggie is very talented. Yes, we do. But until Maggie takes that talent and brings it into a systematic approach so it produces the best result for the consumer, she's not successful yet, right? In our view. So talent alone, it's like Danny. Danny used to go out with his talent alone and muscle his way through a listing presentation until he stopped doing that. And he follows a very specific system every single time. Okay. And the system is there to express in its full articulation what this process is all about. So where Gail meets us is after a couple of telemarketing beats. So here we start off being prepared. Here's what's unique about us. Here's how I'm going to introduce it on the phone and get it out the door. Then from there, I'm going to try to qualify. I'm trying to say, am I sending this truly to a person whose timing might be now? Because if so, I can take another step up the value ladder. This is a value ladder. So I can step up to the value ladder and say, the next thing that would be really helpful would not be just the pictures and details in the plan. It would be the pro who's the interpreter of the system and how it applies to that person's house. That requires more qualification and just a little bit deeper. Now, great. I know Gail's going to want to come over, and I know she wants to really relate to the situation and give you the best insight she can. She loves to be prepared. I know it's just the nickel tour, but she loves to be prepared. Humor me. Let me ask you a few questions. Now, at this point in time, the person that's willing to go that deep with you and open up that much to you is probably somebody that you have already identified has a very serious reason to let her in the door, right? She needs to know the right answers on how to get this done now. No more bullshit about just getting pictures and details of properties. I need a pro. But you have to set the pro up the right way too. Because when the pro goes in, remember, I am literally pulling up to that front. I'm literally going to look down at the seller qualifying questionnaire. And the most important things I want to see is, why are they moving on a scale of 1 to 10? How much do they think the property's worth? If Autumn flunked everything else and got those 3, I could still do well. But if she also finds out, what are the best features of the property? Have you done any upgrades? Would you pay for it? All those questions get answered so that when I come in, and if they say, well, why are you asking these questions? Because he wants to give you his best insight. And the more he knows like a detective, the more he can tell you what to do with or without him. This is not an obligation. I'm not tricking you. I'm not asking you these questions so I can trick you into the listing. He's coming in there to genuinely give you, she's coming in genuinely to give you this insight and say, look, if I were you and you want to move to Boston inside the next 60 days, here's what you need to do. You got to get my stager in here. You got to get my cleaning crew in here. You got to get my landscaper over here. Okay. Those are the easiest things you can do. Boom, boom, boom. We can have this thing buffed up. And you see your pictures online. Agent's probably a nice person, but come on, right? You need better than this because you're getting memorialized in it. So you see, that's what insight sounds like in a real scenario. But if we walk in there and the person is confused, well, why are you here again? Then you didn't do your job. And you didn't stay in the system. Instead, you tried to get an appointment, and that's a lousy appointment. That's a colossal waste of time, money, and energy. And that's exactly what Gail is talking about. Don't send me in there. I told Autumn this the other day. We had a reset, COVID reset. Okay, Zoom has become very easy to do and phone calls. And I don't really want to make a phone call unless there's a reason Autumn thinks I need to tip myself in the door because she was unable to. For any other reason, I don't want to talk to people on the phone because that's not what I do best. That's what she does best. So everything with us, me, is precise now. It has taken me 21 years to get to this point where I understand the value of precision of a system. Not just the words, Autumn's talked about that before in these calls, but precision of a system. If you don't hear me and you don't pound your brain to train to do it all the time, right? All you're doing is you're allowing the expansion of these little, they seem like little mistakes. Yeah, but I still got the package out. So what? Was it to the right person? Yeah, but I still got the appointment. So what? Did they even like let her come over? Or did they even like give her the time of day? Or was she there going, what am I doing here? Everything that's precise in a system gives a predictable result so that you're good, right? All right. So Gail, you want to add to that since you wanted me to kind of go to the importance. I got to lead to it, as you can see, all the way from the beginning to lead to the importance of getting that, right?
Right.
You want to add to it?
No, I think it's really important to have that, and I'm glad you brought up not wanting to do a phone call or a Zoom, because if we don't get to see the home, first of all, we're not going to be able to do an analysis and give them our insight. So we have to, the perfect storm or the perfect scenario is that they do do all the beats, they do the seller questionnaire. If appropriate, go and I go in there, and we have a successful appointment then.
Yeah.
And I think we had a little bit of adjustments during COVID, but I think those have changed a lot. And so we're back to the original, get me inside the home. If at all possible.
Look, we were considered essential long ago. We're still getting in houses, and we need to get in houses, period.
Yeah,
period.
You're not living in California.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just saying, if houses are getting listed physically,
Yes.
I know what's going on in California right now. There's no sense in anything other than an appointment in the house. The biggest reason for which, for all you telemarketers to understand this, how am I going to give them insight about their particular situation?
Uh-huh.
You want me to just look at the MLS sheet? No, I can't see the neighbors. I can't see the views. I can't see the true feeling of the decorations because you know what pictures and details do. I can't get a sense for the flow. I can't get a sense for the human being. Like, is this guy really serious? What's going on here? What kind of person is this? Is this our avatar? So you can't get any of that kinesthetic feeling for what's going on here. And I would think that most, of my team leaders here who I've called out today to be, active here, I don't think any of them would say any different, that if we can't get in the house, we're limited in what we're certainly limited. Okay. Other team leaders, I should be hearing from all my team leaders that are in my mastermind group right now. We're hijacking this call, outside sales moment that gets led up by telemarketing. I need to hear from you right now. I'll kick you off the call. How about that? I'll go down the list and just kick you. Let's go. Team leaders, Chris.
Well, I don't get kicked off, right? Because
Desi, Donnie, Grant, Kate, you'll be included. Paul, Sonia, let's go. Everybody, I want to hear from you about this stuff. A lot of you have either a new person or you're bringing somebody on and you don't know what you're doing, right? So.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, I'm here.
Okay, Grant and Chris, go ahead. Thoughts on this? I want to hear about outside sales in a systematic way, you guys being set up in a systematic way. I want to hear questions, thoughts, anecdotes, anything. I want you to speak.
My thoughts are that we're working on perfecting or just working on the outside color to perfect the system. And I always say just be succinct and to the point, read the script and listen more than you talk.
Yeah.
I think that's super important because you don't miss anything. They're in the subtleties. There's nuances and tells to why they're really doing something. So
yeah, definitely. In that second beat, I think you bring up a good point to Maggie's point. I mean, Maggie gets so excited and it's like, it's a victory because, and by the way, I mean, you want telemarketers that are new to find the milestone victories. Any of you that have joined this group, my presumption is you've also been interviewed by me. And one of the most important things that I said to you was, or asked you is, can you see yourself doing this for 24 months? Because if you can't, then I'll say it now that you're on the inside, you're naive. Right? Because when you're trying to get somebody, number one, with all these new challenges, COVID, et cetera, trying to let somebody that doesn't know you to have another person come in their house, right? There's some vetting process that person goes through. So the more they talk about themselves and their situation, and they award you or reward you for the one that provoked them into that state. I mean, Gail talks about Tony Robbins all the time and changing state, et cetera, right? So what you're doing by asking the right questions, Grant, is you're having the human being on the other end of the line change their state, right? Because the minute you talk about Grant, and if I ask you, Grant, how the kids, right? I bet you could just feel what just, changed in your body. How's your wife, right?
100%.
Right. You can feel the chemicals change because suddenly it's about you and this feeling and the image that pops in your head of your child and your wife and, these things that are going on. Your chemicals change to chemicals about you. If I walk outside right now in New York City, I was trying to drop my daughter off at the front door of a new apartment. Some guy's like leaning on my car. You got any change? And I'm hugging my kid trying to say goodbye. Right. What kind of state am I in? Pissed off. Right. So you have to understand that when we arrive at these moments, either in the home or we arrive at these moments on the phone, especially on the phone because it's so blind, it's really important to understand what weapons. See, like I said to Maggie, no question, the reason she's hired is because she has a long resume and talent. But the reason she'll stay and sustain is because she's teachable. She'll be able to learn those things and you'll hear it on her phone calls. Did you ask this question? If not, why not? There's a very real reason we ask that. You know, oh, by the way, while I have you, before you hang up, it looks like a beautiful house. Why are you trying to sell it? Very particular language that gets them to change their state of being defensive when you were first talking to them. They got disarmed because you had a gift for them. But now that they're disarmed a little bit, get in there and try to flip them from defensive, right? Flip them out of that state to open. Let them open up a little bit. Right now, it's like, well, what do you send at me? And it's a defensive posture. I'm sending you this beautiful gift of information that will help you. It's this and it's this. Oh, okay, great. So the shoulders come down a little bit, but hands are still crossed. Hey, by the
Even
way,
the words you use.
right?
It just is this beautiful information that's going to help you.
100%. It's that positive. Maggie had that. She was very positive in her tonality, that positive tonality. This is really good stuff for you. It changes the state of the person listening to you. So the auditory learner in this moment in time, the person on the other end of the phone, is listening to the tone and also the very pace because they're pissed off. Let's just presume that everybody that you pick up the phone to a certain extent is pissed off that they've been interrupted on the phone by a number they don't recognize. Just assume it. And the more positive and smoothly you can move through the intro, the better off you are. But what that's leading to is, again, the ultimate is in one call, everything gets booked. We find out that there really is a reason. There really is some openness to having Gail, Danny, and Ida, Grant come over, somebody come over, and it gets all done in one. And what somebody might not recognize is that's not luck at all if it's done correctly. It's we had the unique selling proposition package. We knew exactly how to introduce the gift of it being mailed. We knew how to finish that beat. We knew how to say, oh, by the way, why? About you, tell me what's going on. Beautiful house. Why are you trying to sell it? Like that. The real way to talk to people, right? Now they open up. Chest is wide open. They're open. They're vulnerable now to you. And you're saying, geez, you know what? I'm listening to you. There's a pretty big reason. Scale of 1 to 10. Give yourself a little check. What number are you? Huh? What number are you? 10. I thought so. Right? In that case, all right, I know you don't know us from Adam. You've seen Nida's stuff around. You've seen Grant's stuff around. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. You can go online. Here's what I recommend for you. I recommend she comes over. I'm telling you, she's like a real estate doctor. She's going to come over there. She's going to take a look at the situation. She's going to take the properties that I print out here. She's going to interpret what that means for yours, why those sold and yours didn't. And she's going to show you the very 7 steps that, you know, she'll check those like a doctor. Right? She's going to pull that out of her bag. She's going to see if she can identify something that was a little bit off. Usually we find that it's something that's easy to fix for her. So if you let her come over and do that, I think you'd be real happy. That's the killer. That's all of it. Right? Now they say, yes, great. Now I know she wants to do a good job diagnosing your situation. Humor me for a few more, minutes. And I put the qualifying questions because, Gail was talking about, I put them up on the screen here, or I will, so you can see. Now we are in a very personal spot. States change, trust is opened up, all in one call possible. And if not, all of you should understand this, especially team leaders that are managing a telemarketer. It's an accordion, okay? If I squeeze the accordion down into one call, wonderful. Everything got done and booked, fabulous. A little bit of luck and timing collides with the system, boom, okay? We got it. But for the most part, the accordion gets stretched out in a sales process. Let's say Maggie gets this out the door. She calls back the next week. The lady gets it. She doesn't get into realtor speak. She just says, did you get it? Right? Did you get it? Maybe, do you get a chance to open it up so she knows how far it went? Hey, listen, by the way, I was talking to the agent here, the broker here, whatever you want to call him, and she was intrigued by the property. And I'd love to see if we could set the nickel tour up there, because if I send her over there, not only can she see what's going on in the neighborhood, but more importantly, you can get her insights as to what to do and what not to do the next time, right? Presuming that there was timing, etc. So the idea is it's fluid. You should know where you're at on the stairs, all of you, at any one point in time. But especially to my team leaders, looking at the stairs that have to get climbed first. You really have to do a better job working with your telemarketer, explaining that, explaining what you did to be part of that, explaining how we arrive at that moment, explaining what it's like to be you in the house. And if they're from another state and they can't see you do that, then you open up a Zoom one day and you give them the presentation so they understand it, right? Or you walk through a house with them as if, even if it's your own house, as if this were the real go-to presentation. All right, thoughts, questions, jump in here with me. Yep.
I'm not understanding a couple of the questions on here. Like, can they be eliminated because it seems like you're keeping the person on the phone longer than you need to? Like, when did you buy it? What did you pay for it? Those are both on the tax record. They're going to pull anyway when you do the market analysis.
Nope. That's like saying that's like saying there's solds online. You're missing the whole point of this. This is, I'm getting into a personal relationship with somebody by asking these things, and I'm attaching them to those numbers because I want them to be rooted in when did they buy it, what did they pay, because it's a math problem here I'm trying to solve. So if I just dismiss all this, Paul, and I oversimplify it, I haven't taken them through the process of really being attached to having.
I had questions on not any of the other stuff.
I know. Paul, I'm explaining my answer. Take it or leave it, right? I want them to answer those questions for themselves. There's a difference. Answer them for yourself. Don't get weird that you bought it here and you did this. A lot of people will buy it. They didn't do anything and they presume that real estate just, expands, especially in Seattle. That's a delusion there for sure. So that's why they're in there. Good questions. Next, what else?
At the top of that qualifying questionnaire, I asked for their email address. Should I maybe not be doing that?
Oh, I think you could ask for everything. I mean, this is not a perfect questionnaire, but it has been pounded on over 21 years, right? I mean, I don't know where it came from originally, but Proctor had it. He had a version of it. I didn't like some of the disjointed stuff that it had. This is actually, you know how we do those Thursday calls, Grant, when we're doing the mastermind. We'll dump out A through Z and edit it about 15 times until it's taking, see, to Paul's question, it's actually taking somebody through a process. Right? It's not just garnering information. So I think up there, if you have an expired, for example, there's no need to talk about the property type, right? Because you're not going to be pulling comparables, blindly. You already know what the house is. But that's up there at the top of the property, that saying intake form or an up call or referral, right? We have to take that information raw. But the process beneath it is, here we are again. So, okay, let me just make a note. When we were talking just now before we were going to book this appointment, you said you're thinking about selling because you want to move to Florida. Yep. And on a scale of 1 to 10, you're a 10. Yep. Okay, good. All right. The property, when did you buy it? 1989. Okay. Do you remember what you paid for it way back then? No, not really. Okay, I'll get that. Have you done any upgrading? A shit ton. What do you mean by that? Like, tell me a little bit. Well, we ripped the roof off. We did the whole second floor. We added a finished basement and a walkout. Okay, good. Good to know. What's your favorite feature? The walkout. How come? Walks out to a pool and all this stuff, right? This is what a typical real conversation sounds like, right? And you see, it's very logical the way that I'm going through it in the space. Okay. So what do you like the most about living there in the neighborhood, in the area? Well, Whole Foods just came up down the street. I love that. There's a running trail out back. So now I've got the features of the property, right? And I'm beginning to get emotionally involved in this property to sell it myself. What do you think the property's worth? Well, that's why you're coming over. No, I get that. But I've got the math and I've got to interpret. I've got to take all this information and find the range. What do you hope it's worth? How about that? Well, I'm hoping 1.2. All right, good. Super. Right? What's most important about selling a house? Just getting it. I got to get it done. I want all about get out here by such and such a date. The job starts, and I've already wasted my time with the other agent. Right? Okay. Interviewing anybody else again this round? Nope. Okay. Good. Yes. Okay. Who? A friend of my wife's. Okay, well, that's important to know, because now you want to know in the appointment that the wife should be there because she's got a friend or somebody like that, and you got to have both decision makers. You don't want to have an isolated family. So this qualifying questionnaire can reveal stuff like that too, okay? Because you say, okay, when I book this appointment, I want to make sure you and your wife are both there, okay? So those are the types of things that will come up. And if this was a blind cattle call, and they're like, look, we picked 5 people out of the phone book. Okay, that's fine. I'm willing to bite. You have a real reason to sell and it's here. Let me just ask you this. Like, what's the lineup look like? And are you just looking to pick somebody quickly, or are you going to give everybody a full chance to present? Nope, we'll give everybody a full chance. Well, in that case, I'd like to come in last, because I would love my comprehensive 7-step system to be compared to everybody. That's how confident I am it works. Okay, sure. All I ask is, please give me a word again that you won't sign with somebody before I come in. So that's as thoroughly and as quickly as I can go in what this sounds like. So you telemarketers, that's the conversation you're in. And by the way, you shouldn't be nervous and rushing and don't shuffle off a crappy one to us. That's not what we expect. We expect to be able to answer your questions and guide you, train you, coach you, and how to get this information from somebody, right? Because what we want you to do is take over what we used to do, which is make a phone call ourselves. And we want you to be able to have your life and your book be built up like that. But you've got to bring us all the way to these quality appointments. Quite frankly, you're also part of the commission result here too at the back end. So the crappier the appointment, the less likely you are after all that work to get paid. And by the way, the client care manager has to take this over. And if this is a crappy situation from day one, there's not a real why. You're trying to jam appointments down on us that are no good. Well, then all of a sudden, the client care manager's backed up. See, you're so early on the assembly line of manufacturing relationships that if you just don't take your time and do it systematically, what you're doing is actually causing unbelievably large time management problems as the process goes along. All right, team leaders, weigh in.
This is sweet. I mean, like the qualifying questionnaire, I rewrote mine from what I had. I took some questions out, but you have a great dialogue in a sense of how to operate, how to speak, how to, carry yourself when you're in the appointment.
Yeah.
And if they're real.
100%. I mean, I don't think people recognize, let me bring up the script for a second too, now that you've seen the seller qualifying questionnaire. Experientially, we go and we work. I mean, Grant, how would you tell all the newer people that listen to this call or they listen to it on the internet? How would you even tell them how long and hard we have toiled to make something that simple? It just doesn't, the average brain seeing anything for the first time would say, well, that's too simple or whatever they'd say. That took years to figure out, how do you stay systematic without sounding robotic, right? Throughout the whole entire process. How do you take somebody through a systematic process whereby at the end, they're like, my gosh, I just can't even fathom how great that was. My life is so much better. That was much easier than I thought, even though I was freaking out. Like the whole thing just went smoothly. That's the reason why it's worth it to build the system, refine the system, and then stick to the system. Right? Because
I just refined it a little bit here because, one of my first questions after the basement and all that is, what improvements, updates have you done? That's the wrong order. Why are you thinking about selling?
Yeah, right. Because, immediately, and imagine it. See, with an expired, it's a unique cat because we know so much about them that by the time we get here, we know more than we would. But take every other type of seller lead, especially referrals. You don't know anything about them, right? Here's where you start, right? You've already been pre-sold. So the telemarketing on a referral is not necessary. The outbound call, the initial sending of the package just to lure them in to have the conversation. You still want to send the package if you're not going to go right out and deliver it, right? So see, that's also another mistake we make, Grant, even with buyer referrals. When's the last time you got a buyer referral who wasn't going to come to Arizona and you sent out a package of what's sold in the areas they like, plus a buyer plan, plus a cover letter? How about probably never, right? So like our brain falls out of our head when it comes to systems because we don't see the system. We see the pieces that are moving. So the system is there to discipline us. And again, each week when we beat on it and we have real feedback, we refine it. I think Paul's question is fine. Okay. But it's the same mistake that everybody makes when they say, well, what are we selling? They can get sold themselves. It's like, guys, we're in the service business, right? We're in the service business. And I'm not just going to get your tax data. I'm serving you. You're going to come into a process with me. I just said that was my unique selling proposition. The way that I take you through the process is what's unique and unduplicatable. I could give my wares to my competitors, I said, but the way that I and my company and my agents take you through the process is unique to us. So I'm going to uniquely ask you, do you remember when you bought it? Do you remember what you paid for it? Because why? I'm just demonstrating to you my professionalism. I'm saying, see, I'm asking you that because it's going to become important for your mental process. You're going to remember what you paid. You're going to remember it's a good return on investment. You're going to remember all this. Or you're going to remember you paid too much and you spent too much. And now you're going to hope I can get you out. And maybe you might have to take a hit because it's really important you to move on because you told me why and it's a 10. So all of that is part of, I'm already down the line in my mind by asking these questions right now. I'm trying to service them in a better process by being here, Grant, so that when I get there, they're already preconditioned to experience it, right? How about all the poor work that gets done in our industry where somebody doesn't ask qualifying questions? They don't tell somebody how the process is going to be 1 through 7. And then all of a sudden, everything's happening lightning speed. They don't even know that they're supposed to be packing. Next thing you know, there's an open house this weekend and there's an offer. Nobody's ever gone through a net sheet. Do you follow me? You see how the simple process that every realtor takes anybody through is so discombobulated that the most important thing we can do at the highest level of professionalism, slow it down and organize it and let them know every step of the way where they're at. And the reward is the appreciation of the consumer with their business. You make my life easy, especially with the single largest financial and emotional transaction, or at least easier. I will reward you with the business. So by the telemarketer demonstrating that all the way at the beginning with the way they speak with them, what they deliver to them, how they call them back and pre-qualify them, how they set them up for the appointment, how we go in and give the appointment, how the client care manager takes them through the process, how the closing care manager crosses T's, dot I's, and how we treat them like family for the rest of their lives as a past client. Everything is microeconomically connected all the way down the continuum in the best businesses. And the best businesses, once they've at least got the big chunks locked together smoothly, they beat on the micro details, right? They make it even better. Where did we fall apart? And that's what happens in our business. I talk to Autumn and Laura all the time. Autumn and I had a good call about a microeconomic thing that was a little off. So I talked to Lauren today and she said, well, I had trouble doing this and how high should I go? I said, just get one above them. Because psychologically, nobody wants that package to show up with everything below them. So it's a psychological thing. Good, fixed. So that's an example of the micromanagement on top of the system. Good news is we have the system. She's like, yep, no problem. And I said, oh, by the way, with the recruits and the packages, if you get sick or delayed, you got to let somebody else know so that they're either going to have somebody else step in to do it. The speed matters. Or at least they're like, okay, I'm going to delay this call a couple of days because she won't be back, right? Package won't get out. So that's the way, Grant, in my office, everything gets managed too. But everybody's interconnected in the dialogue. I mean, our Griffin Realty Group agent training on Thursdays is always against the backdrop of the process. In fact, a lot of the topic was about social media. We're like, okay, the only reason for social media is so that when somebody goes to vet you, they can see that you're real, or to get your seller's property, out there. Other than that, if it doesn't lead to, conversations, then you're wasting time on social. So if you don't leave a provocative question and open-ended, direct message me, talk to me, whatever, you're not in the sales mode. And now social media is a massive waste of time, and you'll never be successful. You would only be on there. You would only be, in an open house, asking the right questions, provoking people in to see if you could be of service and value, right? Grant, any thoughts, questions? Chris Egan, I know you were trying to talk. I'll take you.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've got Izzy, our telemarketer, on as well.
Hi, Izzy.
Listening in. May have to unmute there, but yeah, we've been
okay.
Go back and forth via text. But I wanted to ask you, as far as the qualifying questions are concerned, a couple of things. First, what do you think about the interweaving the qualifying questions into the conversation itself, even before you have the liberty of setting the appointment?
No.
In other words, before they even
No, stop. Just
Okay.
stop. Just stop. What? Just stop. No. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right? They're in there already, right? They're in there. Just read it. They're in there. It's a system. So like are you asking me to change a system?
No. I'm asking if they push you off, is because of course, as you address, most of the time they're defensive. You're interrupting their day. You're interrupting. They're not expecting.
Well, look,
to
Chris,
call.
just pick it up. Just pick it up right here. The questions are there, right there. Why are you trying to sell it? It's there.
And I think it's helpful if during the call, you blank copy of the questionnaire to fill the blanks that they answer during the conversation. When it comes time to actually go through the questionnaire and ask them, it validates that you're listening to what they're saying. So to have the questionnaire there, but not to ask them.
All right, I'll bite. I like it, but let's just think about an assembly line for a second, okay? Let's think about the assembly line, right? Chris, let's go back to you for a second, and Dean, keep that thought for 1 second about an assembly line, okay? What does it actually look like on an assembly line? It moves pretty quickly, doesn't it? Right?
Yep.
And as things improve, there are more machine tools doing what humans do, right? And the humans are starting to write the software and run the machines, right? So the idea is efficiency. And a lot of you, the number one complaint from all of you that have ever coached eventually becomes time management. You don't know what to do with your time, or you have enough time. The reason is inefficiencies in everything that you do. So your fight is against the inefficiencies. It's opportunity cost. It's time opportunity cost. If I spend extra minutes writing down what you're saying while I'm talking to you before there's an appointment, that could very well be a waste of time. Because if the why is not a real why, okay, I don't need to, yes, highest and best practices would be listen and write because something goes through you and transforms. But what's that got to do with why are you moving? I don't really want to move. I don't really want to move. Okay. Waste of time. Because he can know.
What I'm saying is, listen, if they said, why are you moving? Well, I bought the house in 1983 for $80,000, and now it's time to get out. It's a question you don't have to ask later. If you can jot it down while still staying engaged.
Yeah, I get it, but you're trying to cheat towards your own efficiency, and you're not staying in the stage. I get it. I'm going to argue for the system.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking at it as I'm also looking at it as a pattern interrupt, to use your language, as a pattern interrupt to get them engaged. Because having made these calls myself, how many times they pick up the phone and just say, not interested, man, they're just not hearing.
Chris, that's not your avatar. You're trying to go like you're trying to use technique and tactic, where like if somebody's going to treat us like that, you know what I tell Autumn? Next. Okay. You're trying to win a battle that you're not even in yet. You know what I mean? I can tell you, Chris Egan has never made a long-term series of good calls following a system. That's why you have Izzy. I can tell you that Danny Griffin is the same problem. He never sat down and did these. You're trying to say, like with bravado, I've made these calls and I know what they'll. No, you don't. No, you don't, because you've never done it systematically. We've never had a flow of seller leads. We've never had a clear script where we offered a package. You've never had somebody either get the from the package to the next stage right there or the second call. You've never had anybody track those telemarketing trackers. You've never had them put the names in the list sheet. You've never done any of this before long enough to experience its effectiveness. So stop arguing in your brain against an old pattern. And I did this way we were managing Andy and our closing department. We recognized that the way we were talking about it, even the questions on a call like this, were from even only 12 months ago. So as things evolve, it's like the bottom line, Izzy, is I need you to make some phone calls and I need you to record them. And I need to see whether or not you are following the system. I don't need you to be the big Izzy version I heard on the phone, right? She's awesome. She's a wonderful human being. I need you to be the Izzy that's effective, Okay. I got this package out. I found out this guy has a real reason. He said, when you call back next week, you probably be okay to book a phone call. Good. I'm going to book a phone call. It just becomes very black and white, Chris. But like if Izzy brings me rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection, then we're going to find out what's wrong. But it's not going to happen because she's a pro. And the minute they hear her woman's voice, not Chris's man voice, that's also another difference, right? There you go.
And I think it's important that everybody understands that solar questionnaire is very important. I mean, how you include it, oh, by the way, so that Gail can do a better job for you. I just have a few more questions and then just go right into it. Don't ask them, just let them know so that we can get as many questions answered as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that we miss this a lot of the times because we're just going on the first and second beats. But going through the total thing like you did, Danny, makes everybody understand it so much better, and the purpose of that seller questionnaire as well.
Yeah, cool. Sarah Van, you wanted to say something, and I don't want to run out of time on you. I just did check chat. Thank you, Autumn, for telling her I wasn't seeing it. Go ahead.
So what I want to say is getting back into this kind of system, we were definitely all over the place.
Yeah.
Even though we had the questionnaire, there was that kind of resistant kind of mindset, not wanting to skip some of the questions that we thought were kind of silly.
Yeah.
But then I realized, okay, obviously the system has certain questions for a reason. We are asking these questions for a reason. And I noticed that when I was following them, each single question, it does create that emotion that the person's thinking about when they bought it, what they bought it for. My conversion went from 13% to 35%.
Yeah. And it's simply because of what you're expressing as a woman. You're very good at reading emotion and allowing somebody to talk more about their history with this property reveals, might even reveal, I bought it in 82. It's going to be hard to sell. Okay, there we go. Right? It's going to be hard to sell. I hear you. We see that a lot here. Now you know what to say back. You can be humanly, and you guys are so good at the metrics up there. I mean, that's a staggering percentage change from 13 to 35%. Right? Staggering. And that's my point about when we understand the power of the system, it's not about Danny. Danny has no dog in the hunt here. You'll listen to me or you won't. In my office, like if they don't, they got a problem with me, and that's not a good thing, right? Because the system is what makes them money. And when it makes them money, it makes the company money. And when we do it the best it can be, money's not the conversation. It's this freaking person is so happy that they're on the other side of this transaction, and they love us and we love them, and we just sent them a huge basket and they took a picture, and they're calling us on regular, right? That's what it's about. But if you think you're going to do that on muscle and talent, okay, and you're new to this group, you're sadly mistaken. And please listen to the people. Like, we got fake front teeth in this group because we've already run into the wall 17 times trying to muscle it through. There are top producers all around where Sarah Van is in Ottawa, drowning to this very day because they're still trying to pound the square into the round hole, right? They have fewer listings than ever before. Their expenses are higher than ever before. That's because nobody takes the time to talk about a system that actually serves better. We will cut out as many questions, as much fat as we can if it serves the consumer better. If it doesn't, we will slow the frick down and we will play it out to its hilt. All right, final questions, thoughts?
Sarah, what was the one thing that I obviously was distracted? What was the one thing that triggered that massive percentage change?
The aha moment was collectively myself and the two other insight sales, we weren't following that questionnaire. We were literally asking the basic questions like bedrooms, bathrooms, not even asking the motivation, not even asking the why. And then we realized we're just being insane by trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So we had to kind of regroup and realize, and Danny's like, how do you guys not have that printed and going down the actual list of questions? And it was in.
So you were thinking like a semi-unprofessional agent as opposed to a skilled, talented telemarketer.
Absolutely. I think we were more so just trying to have a really casual conversation. It wasn't strategic, and that's what was hurting us. And so now that I literally have a pile of a questionnaire. So anytime I'm getting into that phone call, I'm literally going through that list.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything?
So our caller on their MLS admin seat for them, so they can jump into that local MLS and get
Yeah.
property details in that.
Yep. Definitely.
What's
Yeah.
the software where we can kind of search for people online and kind of get a little intel on them before the call?
Fastpeoplesearch.com is what Autumn uses.
Have people search.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Grant, don't do that.
Mhm.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that. She only uses that if she can't find a number. Don't do that. We don't need that.
Okay.
We have a name. Call up looking for that person. Make the offer. You start doing all that kind of like, why? See, spoken like a true agent, not a telemarketer. Telemarketer doesn't need to do intel. They want to make phone calls. They want to talk to people. You want to do intel. You want to do intel? You can do it before you go into your appointment. But don't get in the way of the telemarketer and start. And that's what I think Chris was doing too. I know, Chris is trying to think of, tactics and techniques. Sure, those are all valid questions, but I'm not interested in that. Like Izzy needs to go and make these calls, period. Right?
I just heard that she had it. That's why I asked. So I'll just keep it to MLS admin so she can get online and see properties.
Yep. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Okay.
And that's what Maggie did at the beginning of the call. I had one of Maggie's calls out in California. It's stupid simple. I mean, she really does a great job. She sounds wonderful. The tone is there. She just doesn't know that there's a next step that she had easily. Lady wasn't rushing or wasn't hurrying. And so her nervousness, because she's just new, she got all excited and, okay, be safe. And she bails. She pulls the parachute, right? And it's kind of cute. It's funny. It's like, okay, that's no problem. There's nothing wrong with this call, but you didn't have to do that. You had her, right? And it's hard to get people back on the phone. So when you got them, go as far as you can. If you can go all the way to an appointment, that's the holy grail. All right. Anything else? Anything burning? Don't leave something burning here. Anything burning? Okay. I don't mean.
Hey, Danny.
And Dean, I don't mean on you. I mean in your brain.
I was going to say, get out of that shit. The car's literally burning. Get the hell out of there.
All right, go ahead, Allison. You're the
Can
last.
you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Real fast question. Where are you guys at this point, since you've been making calls for quite a while now? Where are you with voicemails? Do you ever leave them after trying someone, I don't know, 5 or 6 times?
I'll let Autumn.
Hey,
I'll let Autumn.
back.
Yeah, I'll let Autumn answer that. I'll give you the system reply in a second, but I'd rather just go to a real telemarketer and say, what does she do? Because at some point in time, it's Autumn now runs that book of business.
You get 5 dials and no answer. At that point, what do you do with them?
Yeah, go ahead, Autumn. You answer first. I'll answer second.
I leave messages at the 3rd call, and I get a lot of callbacks.
Okay, and by the way,
Okay.
go ahead, Sarah Van. You want to weigh in? I'll take it.
I do the same thing. If after the first or second call I don't get an answer, because if you think about it, if you're seeing a number that you don't recognize, they're gonna want to know who it is, and at least have the courtesy. Because I've had people before when I finally reach them. Oh, why didn't you leave a message? Right? Because they're getting a lot of random calls, and if it's somebody that is going to be the right avatar, they're going to want to have a conversation. They're going to want to hear.
All right, ladies. Let me hear the voicemail that you would each use. Sarah Van, go first. Autumn, go second. Sarah, go ahead.
So if it's somebody that has registered to get a home evaluation, they're like, hey, Danny, it's Sarah calling from Metro City with RE/MAX. I just wanted to get back to you. I know you were looking for some information about your property on 123 Main Street. Give me a quick shout back. I'm at 613-903, and I just leave it at that.
Okay, go ahead, Autumn.
I just say, I basically do the script. I say, hello, Autumn Isles calling from Griffin Realty Group. I wanted to send you a packet of, I saw your home, saw that it didn't sell, and we'd like to send you a packet of information that will help you sell it next time. Do you mind giving me a call back and giving me the permission to do that? My
Yeah.
number is.
I can't ever argue with that because it is.
I love it.
It is because
Right.
it is the system, and like I would rather Autumn trust the system every day to make her life easier. I am not looking to stress Autumn out. I am looking to make her life
That's
as
right.
easy as possible, and that's what it
There's
sounds
no
like.
need to reinvent the
Nope.
wheel. That's
Nope.
perfect. There is
Nope.
absolutely no need to
No,
reinvent it.
no, unless it doesn't work, and it does. So let's
Right.
keep going.
Right.
Let's keep going with
Okay.
it until it breaks. I mean, we can refine it, but until it breaks, let's keep going. All right. I got to hit the road. Love you all. Appreciate you all.
Thanks.
Go out and practice this stuff. Yep. Thank you so much. Gail, thanks for
All
taking
right.
us in that direction. Good.
Call me back about my billing issues.
Yep. Bye.
Call me today.
Car.
Bye, guys.